So Alabama had a big junior day. Lots of kids were there. Can we expect some to commit to the University of Alabama soon?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, Junior Day happened in Tuscaloosa yesterday. What you got?
Well, it's looking at some notes now. It went extremely well.
Show prep.
Yeah, exactly. People just got to see the show prep right there, all 25 seconds of it. No, I knew you were about to ask about Junior Day, and there were so many kids there. Frankly, no one has publicly committed, and that's not a surprise or a disappointment. It was just very possible with that many kids on campus and everyone meeting with the coach that commitments sometimes happen in that environment. And hey, it could be that a couple of kids are more, privately committed. I'm not a big private commitment guy. I just think, private commitments are kind of a soapbox issue with me about people getting excited about them because, Luke, what percentage of public commitments flip? A third? I mean, is it clear? Is it easily a third of public commitments? So what percentage of private commitments flip? 75%? I mean, so I don't really get excited about anything until the kid publicly commits. And then when they do, chances are they're going to follow through with it. But my point is, there was probably some of that private commitment stuff going on. There often is at junior days like what Alabama did. I didn't see, what's kind of weird at the basketball game last night, and trust me, I was looking around. I didn't see any. Now, I could have been where I was sitting, but I didn't see any prospects. And I looked around because the game before, Ryan Williams was there and Jalen Bakwe was there. And I didn't see it, but it was probably a long day. They got there very early. They did some early morning stuff. By the time basketball started, I imagine the vast majority of kids had already left to go back home because it was, the game didn't even tip till 7:30. So, but it went really well. I enjoyed reading the interviews that Joseph Hastings, got together with kids who were there. Went really well. How about this note from one of the interviews with, I think, Turbo Rogers, who was there, firming up his commitment. He's remained committed to Alabama. Turbo says that Sterling Dixon says he's gained 20 pounds in 4 weeks. Now, I don't know if that's an exaggeration because that sounds extreme, but but we needed to add weight to Sterling. And man, Alabama Science Center is so good at the weight gain and the weight loss and how they literally make a science of combining the nutrition plan with the strength and conditioning plan set by Ballou. And it's like Ballou and the nutritionist working together. And it's amazing the quick results they can get, whether you're talking about Jaheim Otis losing all that weight a year or so ago, and now Sterling Dixon claiming 20 pounds in 4 weeks. Again, that was just an offhand comment. I wouldn't read too deeply into it, but Sterling is a guy that does need to get a little bigger to play.
I mean, muscle weighs more than fat. We all know this. I can gain 20 pounds in 4 weeks. No problem. I might gain 20 pounds on this trip to Lake Tahoe I'm on. But
it'd be fun, wouldn't it? It'd be fun.
It would be, but I do find
to gain 20 pounds.
I think we need to take that with, as they say on several message boards, a grade of salt. Because I think what he's really saying is he's beefed up, and that probably equates to more like 8 pounds. I'm betting. I don't know what the math is, the fictional poundage to the actual poundage, if there's a true formula. But I think that when you say, it's like, hey, my nephew's grown like 4 inches. Now, your nephew's probably grown like 2 inches since last time you saw him. And the problem is it's not just that they've grown tall, like, their arms are longer, their feet are bigger, everything. So he looks bigger. Same thing with Sterling Dixon. 20 pounds in a month. There'll be some nutritionist on here that'll say you and I don't know what the hell we're talking about, and they'll be right.
Correct.
But
I'm just quoting the kid. I don't know.
I know. I'm just saying, I think don't take that as fact.
Exactly.
I'm saying take away from it, Sterling Dixon's getting bigger in a good way. That's what I take away from that. Not that I wouldn't just go around saying he gained 20 pounds. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if you lose inches, let's say you lose a couple of inches of, with these kids being 18 years old, let's say you lose a couple inches of baby fat, but you replace it with muscle from the weight room, you can gain some considerable weight and look a lot better. And that stuff can happen kind of quickly, particularly when paired with the nutrition plan. But anyway, it was just an interesting quote to me in the stories that Joseph Hastings put together on BOL. Real interesting quote from Turbo, who once again reminded me, I knew this but forgot. Turbo's got 2 siblings that attend the University of Alabama, so he would be the 3rd member of his family to be here. And he reminded us yet again in that interview, he'd been recruited by Alabama since he was in the 8th grade, or at least talking to Gillespie since then. And I'm excited about Turbo. We talked about him on the last show. Luke, you mentioned, that he's transferring to Carver Montgomery. And I'm excited about that. I want him in Alabama. I know you get good training and good coaching at IMG, but I want to see what he does against quality competition in Alabama, playing every week, and seeing what his numbers look like compared to his 10th grade year, when he was obviously a productive player. I saw him play against Hillcrest Tuscaloosa 2 seasons ago. So I've seen the kid play. He's got that some natural running back ability. I like the lean, in other words, when he hits contact, there's a body lean there to where there's always going to be a gain after contact. And man, every yard counts. And boy, he's got some quickness and burst to him as well.
Okay. So where, if he does, assuming he is coming back to Carver Montgomery, where would you put Turbo Rogers in this group? Now you got Naheem offered. We'll talk about him in the next segment. Micah Dubose. A lot of people have him going to Auburn right now, but I think that's a 50-50 race at best.
Right.
Zion Grady, Jared Smith, who transferred from Spain Park over to Thompson, Anquan Fagans, who visited Auburn this weekend. We'll talk about him in a minute. KJ Lacey, Alvin Henderson. Good class. Antonio Coleman, Eric Winters, Jacaleb Falk. Would you put him in that mix, or would you say he's a step behind that mix?
Kind of halfway in between what you just said. You named some real elite kids to me. And I'll tell you, a kid I really like is Derek Smith from Southside Selma. I like him a lot. He was on campus yesterday too. I think off the top of my head, I think Turbo is one of these around number 10. Somewhere in there, like maybe as high as 7.
You think he and Alvin Henderson are like,
they're 1 and 2.
You don't know really which one is which.
Yeah, I like Turbo more than Alvin Henderson, but barely. I mean, it's really tight to me. And really, the difference there is, in my mind, is Turbo's done it against better competition and the year he spent at IMG, whereas Alvin is playing, that 1A schedule. Now, if I saw verified measurables right next to each other and Alvin's were clearly better than Turbo's, then I might flip. I mean, that's how close it is. I like both kids.
You don't know the meaning of the word commitment either, Jimmy.
I don't. I have commitment issues. This is what happens when you follow recruiting. You end up with nothing but commitment issues.
You know what? I bet it's got to be, boy, that's a great point. I wonder, the guys who are in the recruiting industry, what their divorce rate is. Because, you sort of, your work can rub off on your life. And you come home one day and you go, honey, I've been thinking about it. I appreciate all you've done for this family, and I'll never forget you. But I'm going over to Jane's house.
I think what most
the next 3 to 4 years.
There's a lot of flipping. There's probably a lot of flipping. And I would imagine it's more, they see their family so little. It might be more like they call home and the wife says, I can't live like this anymore.
I don't have a scholarship for you anymore.
and the coach husband is like, this is really sad, and you're going to have to remind me again what your name is so I can be truly upset about this, but I've totally forgotten.
Pushing me into the portal? Into the divorced portal? Oh, man, I've been in
you know what happens? These coaches, the hours, Now, here's, one thing about the hours is it's really only bad during that time they can be on the road recruiting. I mean, when they can be on the road recruiting, the expectation from the head coach is if you can be on the road recruiting, then you get your butt on the road and you are on the road and you're staying there until the rules say you have to come back. So that's when the hours are insane. The hours during the season might surprise some people. It's bad. It's a lot more hours than most of us in the regular workplace work. But to my understanding, I think most things were so organized under Nick Saban. This is just my understanding. I think most of our coaches were home by 7:30 or 8 p.m. During the week, most of the time. Now they work through lunch, they get there early, but it's not a working to midnight in the office thing. There's just the one rule is you don't leave before the head coach does, right? No one's leaving until Nick left. I mean, that's the rule. Nick leaves the office. Okay, now we can go. But no one's leaving before the head coach does.
Well, speaking of jobs, if you were to need a new job, I'm going to tell you where to go.
Oh, sweet.
LinkedIn. Oh, we love LinkedIn over here at Locked On Bama. They've been such a loyal sponsor. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn Jobs isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they're probably going to apply. Did I do that first Locked On thing or no?
That was the first one, right?
Crap.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Okay.
It was the Locked On thing, then the LinkedIn, and then the Locked On thing.
I wear a lot of hats, Jimmy, and not just because I'm cold and my hair is thinning out here.
What is the temperature there? It's a 47 here in Tuscaloosa right now.
It's about 28 right now. And
is it sunny?
That's fine. It's not really sunny. I haven't been outside. It's only 9 here, and my wife and my 7-year-old went skiing. I'm just not a big skier. I might ski one day, but I'm looking forward to wrapping this up and going to the casino. So that tells you anything about me.
You're blackjack guy? You're blackjack guy?
I blackjack and I poker. I'm big on I was sort of a blackjack snob for a long time where I don't like sitting next to people that don't know what they're doing, that if they have an ace and a 4 and they're like, I don't want to hit it because I don't want to screw the cards up. I'm like, you're an idiot. No, please. That you have 5. You're standing on 5. Yeah. Quit doing that. I don't care what you think is going to happen. Play the math. But I've gotten off that run now. So poker has sort of moved me on to just being a regular blackjack dude and a regular poker dude. But Jimmy, Naheem offered.
I'm a fake like I'm playing slots so I get free drinks, dude.
Just sit there hitting buttons. I like it.
Yeah. I'm like, wait. And what I do is I see where the waitress is and kind of get about 20 feet ahead of her and sit at the slot and look, have that look on my face like I'm losing all my money. But really what I just want is the free bourbon and Coke.
Oh, God, I love that. I do that on Southwest, which I flew over here. If I know the flight's not full, I will sit on Southwest on a phone call that's not actually a phone call, and I'll just have my phone up my face going, no, you tell that SOB I said he's fired. And don't I hope somebody does sit next to me so I can just cuss them out. They're like, we're not sitting next to this guy. And then I get free aisle. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm pretty violent like that.
That's extreme.
Naheem offered.
Oh, yeah, love this guy.
Well, I hope you don't love him too much. He just committed to Ohio State. He's number 1 player in the state of Alabama, number 4 player in the country. I don't know necessarily that all is lost with him. I'm sure you're going to tell us, hey, it's a long way. I mean, shoot, he's got a year. I mean, practically a year till he signs. And eventually, and now he did just take a visit to Ohio State this weekend, so he's been up there when it's cold. I've been to Columbus a bunch. I got children up there, and it is cold. But Ohio State is, look, I don't mean this as a shot at them, but they're opening the coffers. They're doing a great job with NIL. It's working extraordinarily well. And if Alabama wants to get on board, they might have to kick up a little more. Kevin Steele actually had an interview recently where he said, hey, Alabama wasn't paying as much as these other places. I mean, that's essentially what he said, and he's probably right. And you can't just rely on, hey, I want to wear this A like I'm wearing the Jalen Milroe rowback right now. It's got to be, what have you done for me lately if you want to get some of these cats? And again, nothing wrong with it. We set up this system, so let them be. But Naheem Alford, the number one player in the state of Alabama, committing to Ohio State a year early, that's eye-raising.
It is. And, yeah, you already said there's a lot of time here. So I don't think all is lost forever here. I think Alabama's going to recruit him like he's uncommitted and do all they can to get back in it. And Alabama is competitive in the NIL space. But I think there's a long time here, and Ohio State is on a tear. And one thing that I hope people understand is this is certainly my strong opinion. I feel strongly about this. Alford committing to Ohio State has nothing to do with the new coaching staff. I'm 100% sure that had Saban still been in place and everything been just like it was, this kid still would have committed to Ohio State because Ohio State's just on a tear. They're being very aggressive right now. And we'll see what changes between now and December. That's a lot of time. So let's see what changes, and let's see what Alabama can do. And if the kid is lost, the kid's lost. You just make up for it by evaluating. Evaluating is how there's other corners out there that will prove to be as good as this kid that you can still sign. I mean, those are facts. I mean, that's a fact. The idea that this kid is absolutely the best and will be the best corner signed in this class, well, possible. There's just a lot of good players out there. So no reason to panic, but no doubt it's a little bit of a blow because you got to do well in state. And this kid's from right up the road at a friendly program.
Definitely. I mean, Barker's a lot closer to Tuscaloosa than it is Columbus, Ohio. Yeah. Then there's Anquan Fagans. He was at Auburn this weekend. I think Alvin Henderson was there too. I know Alabama's pursuing Henderson, maybe not quietly. I mean, maybe since they have Turbo Rogers and they feel good about him, maybe they're not pursuing him as heavily. I don't know.
I don't think it's crazy to project today. I mean, I'm just projecting today to show how fair I can be about it. Today, I would just tell you that Rogers will stick with Alabama and Henderson will sign with Auburn. I mean, that feels right to me. But Alabama's going to continue to recruit Alvin Henderson.
And then Anquan Fagans was committed to USC for a long time now, opened back up. He seems to have visited Auburn a lot. I still kind of like Alabama's chances. I don't know if it's a 50-50 or 40-60, but I still like Alabama to be in this thing.
I think Alabama's solidly in the mix for all of those guys. Alvin Henderson, also Naheem Alford, that we just talked about, the corner from Parker. I think all these kids, and Anquan Fagans for sure, any Thompson kid, I think is going to give Alabama a fair listen. So I think Alabama's in the mix for all of it. Again, very, very, very early, and way too early. I've seen a couple of comments, way too early to get concerned about rankings, where 2025 kids are ranked. That process has begun, and it's big, but it's like Mel Kiper and Todd McShay's big board. Okay. Their big board for April of 2024. You need to start paying attention to that. There's some accuracy there. What's their big board going to look like for 2025 today? Why would you put a lot of credence into that? Yet at the same time, you're putting credence into recruiting rankings that are also that many months from being finalized. So don't get too concerned. Recruiting rankings are fluid. They're always in development until they're final. The 2024 rankings are just now final. Now is when you can start being upset if you choose about 2024 rankings. But don't be upset about 2025. That's just in development.
All right, Jimmy, we're going to talk about FanDuel, and we're going to talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide getting another big basketball win when we come back. But of course, I want to tell you about FanDuel because it's America's #1 sports book. It is so much fun. You can't beat FanDuel with a stick. And we're a week from the Super Bowl now. It's time to celebrate America's #1 sports book. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets, pun intended. Look, FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, be it the Chiefs or be it the 49ers, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, which players will have X amount of receptions, X amount of completions, X amount of passing yards, or will there be a safety? They've got all that stuff. How many points will be scored? So much more than that. New customers, you can join today and you'll get 200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So Alabama basketball, I'm going to tell you all the truth. If there's some basketball people on here who say, hey, man, why do you relegate this to the third segment? I want to tell you the truth. Football moves the meter more, and it was a big junior day weekend, and that's what we wanted to lean into. And I love basketball. And if it were up to me, I could do a Bama basketball podcast. But it does not get as much traction. And no, Auburn folks, your basketball stuff doesn't do as well as your football stuff. It just doesn't. I know you think it does. It doesn't. Football is king, especially in the state of Alabama, but mostly everywhere. So I don't want basketball people to think that we are putting basketball on the back burner. I really don't, because this team
both love it.
Is awesome. Did you go to the game last night?
I did.
Awesome.
I did. I was there.
Awesome.
Great environment. People were fired up. A lot of booing of the officials going on.
Dude, Jimmy, that's interesting. In true Alabama fashion, instead of talking about beating a true rival by 30, that's a good team.
Mm-hmm.
There's some BS in the way that game was officiated. Now, people will say,
well, I'm complaining about officiating when you win by 30. I think when you lose, complaining about officiating just sounds like whining. And I hate myself. I always get upset with myself when I do that. But hey, when you win by 30 and you're complaining about the officiating, something was
amiss.
Something stunk in Denmark.
Yeah. And, I'm trying to pull it up really quickly because I didn't have it.
They shot 23 free throws and we had only shot 1 at one point.
Man, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. And we got a lot of points in the paint. It wasn't like we didn't get a lot of points in the paint.
We scored 40 points in the paint and got fouled 3 times. And they scored like 20 points in the paint and got fouled 100 times. It's just, it literally, I hate saying this, but it literally looked like we were getting called for fouls and they would be doing the same exact thing and they wouldn't call it. It's what it looked like. Now, obviously we're heavily biased and that's going to factor into that. And I'm not saying they were crooked. I'm just saying, I don't know. Maybe they all lost their contacts. I don't know.
Well, but there are some interest. Some of these stats are mind-blowing from this. And again, please, people, please pray at the altar of Nate Oats. He is doing wonderful. Don't even sweat it. If Alabama goes to Auburn and loses Wednesday, which they will be projected to lose, I'm going to say right now they will lose because Auburn is a good team. They're going to be geeked up. This is a big game. And they hadn't lost at home a lot, so don't be surprised if we lose. But don't let that deter you from anything. That's just what I want to talk about. I'll get in more than that.
Who do you think is the best team in the country? We've talked about this before. Didn't we both settle on maybe that UConn might be the best team?
I think you have to put UConn 1, but it's almost like
what I would say is if UConn was playing at Auburn Wednesday with the same atmosphere that Alabama's going to get walking into that place, Auburn beat UConn too.
Agreed.
So now, I won't look at a loss as if it's a failure on Alabama's part. But that being said, I think Alabama's got a real shot. You know why? Because sometimes Alabama has that night from behind the arc, and it'll be tough to beat. But I give Auburn a lot of credit. They're good. It's not just a tough atmosphere. They're a good team.
Well, and not only – okay, so I think it's funny you say Alabama's going to have one of those nights from behind the arc. Because you look at this score of 99-67, and you're like, oh, Alabama, They had 45 points in 3-pointers. What you don't look at in the scoreboard maybe is they were 15 of 48 for 31%. And you're like, oh my God, you shot 48 threes, only shot 31%, only went to the line 10 times. But here's an amazing stat that this stat to me is the football equivalent of a tight end having 3 touchdowns for Alabama football and 100 yards receiving. 10 of 10 from the free throw line. How many times have we heard Alabama fans complain about we can't shoot free throws? We can't shoot free throws. Look, I know we only took 10. It's tough to go 10 of 10 with different dudes.
That's right.
I mean, Ty Spears was 2 of 2. Diabate was 2 of 2. And then Sears was 6 of 6. We only had 3 different players go to the line. That's another problem with
the best free throw shooting team in Alabama basketball history. I read that recently. Right now, our percentage is the best free throw shooting team in Alabama history. And Latrell Wrightsell hasn't missed all season. Now, he hasn't shot. He shot somewhere in the 20s. He's like 25 of 25 or something. But
speaking of Wrightsell, he had 28 minutes. Now, I put out a tweet about 3 minutes ago in the game. He hadn't scored. Now, he ended up hitting 2 3-pointers late. Yeah. But he played 28 minutes, we had 5 total rebounds, not bad for a guard. And he had 6 total points. He did have 3 steals and just 1 turnover. But what I'm saying is, okay, so one of our starters, 6 points that he averages more than that, certainly. And he got his points in garbage time that didn't really matter. Grant Nelson only got in 14 minutes, a guy who's really been coming on. The guy who we wanted to guard Tolu Smith in the last game we played them, he was only 1 of 3, only had 2 points. He had 5 rebounds remarkably in 14 minutes, but he did foul out. And we won by 32. They went to the free throw line 32 times. Now they only made 19 of 32, and they shot 16 3-pointers and only made 4. So they actually, had 25%. What I'm saying is these stats are so bizarre for this particular game. And then Alabama still wins by 32. And it makes you wonder, have we sold this team short? What do you attribute all this to? Do you attribute it to the tough schedule early in the season that made this team I do. I look at it I look at it this way, Jimmy. I remember when I was much younger playing basketball, and I'm sort of wanting to do this with my daughter. I want her to play up a level and get better, and then once you play up a level, when you get to your regular game, all of a sudden things come a lot easier. Now, it's a balancing act because you don't want to destroy confidence too. But I think that Nate Oats, that's where he did a marvelous coaching job in that we played Purdue and Arizona and Creighton and all these teams on the road and all over God's green earth. I mean, who goes to Creighton? We don't need to go to Creighton, but we went to Creighton just for the experience of playing in Neville Arena, of playing at the Hump. That's what we went for. We didn't go because we owed Creighton anything. Nobody knew where Creighton was 10 minutes ago. So we went for the experience. And instead of when the team loses all these tight games, and most of them were tight, at least for a while, we could have gotten down on ourselves and go, we're just not in this caliber. Instead, they looked at it another way, and they turned it around, and they're like, let's go. Now we can go kick some ass. And that's what they're doing. And, boy, Auburn's playing well, too. They went on the road down big at halftime against Ole Miss and scored 50-something points in the second half, scored 91 points. This is going to be a war, Jimmy, a war that I really, frankly, honestly, I hope I'm skiing that night so I don't have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the opportunity. I think I'm curious. I kind of like games like this in this one sense, not losing to Auburn. I don't like that at all. What I mean is I like playing a game where it feels like the pressure's off. Hey, if you find a way to win this game, it is going to be the funnest night of the whole year. But if you don't win, like I said, UConn's not winning this game either. I mean, UConn's not going to roll into Auburn when they're at that fevered pitch that they get up for the Alabama game. I saw Janae Broom say just this morning, this Alabama game is personal. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Why is it personal? First of all, it's Janae.
Personal.
I like how you call him Janae. I do like that.
It was an accident. It was an accident. That was literally an accident. I'm going to stick with it, but did I say that? Janae.
And also, you and I both screwed up the other day. This is why our podcast is the best and the worst. Because the other day we were talking about, you go, South Carolina, that coach, Paris something, And I go, yeah, Paris Johnson. And you go, yeah, Paris Johnson. And we just kept talking like his name is Paris Johnson. His name is not Paris Johnson. That was an offensive lineman who played at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, the Ohio State tackle. Yeah, boy, that was a big
Lamont Paris. Somebody called me out on that on the pod.
I'm still not over losing Paris Johnson to Ohio State, people.
That would have been something if, like, Paris Johnson just gave up football to start coaching South Carolina basketball. And he's awesome because South Carolina's good. They went to Georgia and did. I mean, I'm glad we played
players that were butchering the names like the best basketball people in the league. The South Carolina head coach, who probably should be coach of the year, if not Nate, and then Janai Broom that I just messed. It's one like
I'm just getting word you and I just won the Kenny Stabler Excellence Broadcast Award. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for today's.
We know even how to say it, but ask us about Alabama. We even know how to say Asaya-Funga.
We do know how to say Asaya-Funga.
Who else has that?
Yeah, I know. And if you do get it, get a cream for it. I'm just teasing. I like the name Asaya-Funga. It kind of sounds like something you get while you're on a trip at Lake Tahoe and Margaritaville. That's for people who wondered what this is. This is the key. Like apparently this was an Embassy Suites or whatever, and they redid it. We're on with some ski group, and so it's a Margaritaville now. And last night, like, I'm so tired. Like, our flights were delayed. Everything's screwed up. I wanted to watch the Bama game, so I did. Been up since like 3:30 in the morning. And now it's late out here. Not late out in Tahoe, but like 9 o'clock, so like 11 o'clock my time. And my wife and my daughter are hungry, so we go downstairs to eat at this, one of the Jimmy Buffett theme. And it's freezing cold. And you got fins to the left, fins to the right, playing all the time. They got nothing but TVs with people surfing and playing in the sand. I ordered the buffalo shrimp for some reason. I was like, what? Why did I come to Tahoe and get the buffalo shrimp?
So your room key is like a watch?
It's like a Disney thing.
Oh, okay. That's
you put that on a thing like that. I don't know if you've been to Disney. Like, you don't have any kids, but I mean, yeah, you go to Disney.
I've done Disney. I went to Disney without kids, which means I went to Epcot and did the Beers Around the World thing. I got kicked out of every country.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.